And we are live. Hello, everybody who is watching and talking with us today about our daughters' bodies, conversations that make us, or some of us, really uncomfortable. Um, Feel free to put any questions in the comments while we are chatting, and we will definitely get to them. With me today, I have Dr. Amber Robbins. She's a best-selling author, family medicine physician, and founder of Sanctuary MD. Her company, Sanctuary MD, is a women's empowerment and period panty brand focused on creating a community of girls and women who are confident about their bodies, feel educated, and inspired to make a difference in their world. Welcome, Dr. Amber. We're so thrilled to have you.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we were just chatting before that why does this actually make us uncomfortable to talk about, you know, girls turning women and their bodies and all the changes that are happening. Why is this not like a normal dinner conversation?
Right. That's something that I've been trying to figure out as well. And I think a lot of it has to do with our culture and our stigma. I know even as an adult, I noticed that I would hide my pad going to the bathroom because I didn't want anybody to see that I was on my period, which oops happens every month. So I think it's just really culture and growing up with that stigma being there and us not being able to really have the chance to appreciate the hard work that our body does every single day. So yeah, I think all of us grew up with it and it's kind of stayed there because of the stigma.
Do you think this awkwardness leads to that some people, when there are actually issues, that they come to you too late? That because it's like, because I might feel uncomfortable talking about this with my mom or my dad, or that it kind of gets delayed to actually get the attention of a doctor if needed?
Yeah, for some people it is delayed. The thing that I always think about is what is normal within a family. Because even though, heavy periods may be normal for your mom, your sister, your great aunt, your grandmother, all those, your whole family, it isn't normal to have a heavy period for some women. It could be from fibroids or polyps or things like that. So some people come later because they just don't know that it's not normal, or some people are embarrassed to bring it up. And I always find that it's funny. So for men, anything that happens with their private parts, they're like, oh my God, I need to go right now to the doctor. Like it's something wrong right now. But for women, it's not the case. We try to figure out what's going on with ourselves and try to fix a problem. And it may make an even bigger problem. Or like you said, it might be things that are too late or later on. A lot of women come a little bit later on for a diagnosis of like polycystic ovarian syndrome. So that's women who or girls who have irregular periods, and then also some other health issues that can come with that. They may come when they're trying to have a baby and they're finding that, hey, I'm not able to easily have a child. That leads back to other diagnoses. So yeah, so I don't get that. I wish women were more like men where they were just like running. But yeah, that means that we have some work to do.
That's right. That's right. So, but talk about that. We always are sometimes we are worried about nothing, right? Mm-hmm. So, for example, and I have teenage daughters, so I'm very familiar with that phase. Vaginal discharge, when this starts, right? This is like a huge change, and it's like in the beginning they think, oh, is this already my period? And then it's like, is this normal? What is normal?
Yeah, so it's normal for women to have vaginal discharge. And I have had quite a few patients who do come in who are worried even about STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, even though they never had sex, because they have the vaginal discharge. And so there's a lot of miseducation that happens. And then there's a lot of anxiety that happens because of this natural process. Of course, there are discharges that can be from things like STDs or yeast infections, things like that. But a lot of the times it's normal. It's normal. And having those conversations with young girls, with women, it can be a little tricky because they're like, okay, well, I have this discharge and then now I have a yeast infection, or I'm testing for a yeast infection. You're treating me now. There can be a lot of confusion with that. Sometimes doctors do just treat because someone says they have discharge, unfortunately, even though they don't have an infection. So that it's a little confusing. I will admit, yes.
Right. But can we kind of, as a rule, when you start having discharge, and unless it changes, it's probably normal. Is that kind of a first good rule of thumb, or?
Well, if you're having a lot of discharge, so if you have to know what your normal is, because some people have more discharge than other people, and that's just a regular discharge. Right. So you have to know, okay, right now I feel like I'm having even more discharge, or for a yeast infection. Okay, this discharge looks a little different. It doesn't look like that. Sometimes like the egg yolk type discharge, which we get when we ovulate. It looks more like cottage cheese. Okay, so that may be from a yeast infection. Or this discharge may be a little smellier than I'm used to. So then we think, okay, could this be bacterial vaginosis, which is also overgrowth or infection within the vagina. So it's getting to know your body. But again, I don't want anybody to feel like they have to be experts on everything. They can come on in to see your doctor and ask these questions, and then we can kind of walk you through what's normal, what's not normal. But having the conversation and asking the questions can be really life-changing, because you can get a lot of anxiety around discharge and anything that you think is weird going on down there. So,
right. Well, when we take a step back, right, we don't just have the vagina, we also have our whole body that is changing during puberty.
Oh, our body's always it doesn't stop.
And I am familiar with the question, do I look normal? Which is, of course, the same as like, what is normal, right? Yeah. What is like my normal? But how do you reassure young women that they are perfect?
Yeah. So again, society goes against a lot of that, right? I know what's nice that's going on right now is a lot of body positivity. So really embracing all the curves and all the parts of your body. I love how Lizzo does it too. So a lot of times I try to kind of use her as an example as well. But just knowing that, okay, this may feel like an awkward time in your life. Right? You'll be growing, growing taller. Your feet will be getting bigger. You'll also be growing breasts. So it can feel like an awkward stage, but then thinking about all the different awkward things that can happen every day that make it exciting. Like maybe you randomly like see someone you haven't seen in years, or you randomly find a penny or a quarter or a dollar, or you win the lottery like $1 billion. Whatever those times are, they may feel awkward, but there's so many unique and special things that can happen that can be surprising and can actually create a wonderful memory. So thinking about it like that. So awkward, it could also be unique. Awkward could be exciting. It could be, it can help you learn more about yourself and your body, because all of us, we have all these different amazing things that happen within our bodies. And so it's so cool as a scientist, I would say, to be able, and a doctor, to be able to see how all those things kind of work. So yes, so that's why I always try to just make it more of an exciting process, more of a celebration of your body, of your sanctuary, than like, oh my goodness, I have this thing that's happening and I'm dreading all of it. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I approach life too. Try to make things exciting and fun. Because if not,
it's a very good approach. I like that a lot. Mm-hmm. How do you empower late bloomers?
When you say late bloomers, you mean
like, girls who just get their period really late, get their, breasts really late, and we know how hard middle school sometimes is. So if you are like 3 years behind, that can actually be really hard, right?
Yeah, for some reason we have a competition of who grows breasts the fastest. I don't know where that came from or who starts their period. I remember when I was in elementary school, I was like, okay, that one started her period, so then that one started hers, so then mine has to be next. I have to be like the next one. Yeah. It's kind of interesting. But I kind of go back to the same thing, like, all right, you are your own person, you have your own experience. Everyone is different. And so it's kind of getting to that, not comparing yourself to other people, but embracing all of who you are and where you are, and being able to, you know, like I said, again, celebrate that. So comparing can be harmful in a lot of ways, not only for who has the first training bra, but also, you know, when you get older too, you see it continuing. That comparison of one woman against another woman. And so more so uplifting those and celebrating those who have already experienced that. I think that's super important. That also leads to, when you're an adult, being able to celebrate other women. I think there's a lack of that at times. So learning those skills really young, even though it can be hard, you can acknowledge, okay, this is hard. I can see that this is hard, yet this is what we're going to choose to do. This is what we decide to do, and make it a celebration of those who are experiencing it. And then when it's your time, you'll have your time to celebrate as well.
Yeah, I remember. Very good. So before we talk about periods in particular, tell us the difference between vagina and vulva. I always think about, it was like more than a decade ago, there was like an Oprah interview, and where they talked about this, and Oprah was like running around the audience screaming vulva, and that we should call everything vulva, really.
So. Yes, I think that's when she was talking about the vajayjay. Like, that's when it became like the thing to say for vagina, vajayjay. That was like the nickname. But yeah, so the vagina is the inside. That's the easiest way that I could explain it. It's the inside of the reproductive system, and goes from it's kind of the bridge between the outside, where you have the labia majora, labia minora, the clitoris, the opening of the vagina, and the vagina then bridges into the cervix and the uterus. So it's basically the inside part versus the outside part. So that's how I like to explain it, and try to keep it simple, because I know I'm going to always have the correct people. Still, even after I explained and said, no, the vulva is outside the vagina. You're like, oh, I have the issues with my vagina. I get this all the time. Oh, I'm having itching from my vagina. Okay. Then I do an exam, and then I said, wait, are you having it on the outside or the inside? Because you can have a yeast infection from the vagina, and you can have a yeast infection in the vulvar area. And so that's when we had the conversation of, okay, this is a vulva, this is a vagina. But it makes me laugh, because because it's a common thing that I see a lot, where they have a changing of the names.
Well, I think that is one of those words that people are just uncomfortable with, for whatever reason.
I know, right? I don't know why. It's just like any other word. It's not a curse word.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Again, it's that stigma, right? You think about all these things and how it really impacts us to be able to be empowered to say vagina, because that's a part of you. How amazing the vagina is. Even when you're thinking about later on, when women have babies and have to experience all that, it's so amazing. Our reproductive organs are amazing. I just had a baby a couple of months ago, so I'm just really celebrating all of the parts of my body that were able to bring her here. It's amazing. I don't understand why we have so much of a bad stigma about it. We're amazing beings.
Yeah, we are. We are.
I'm preaching to the choir, right?
Yes, you are. So let's jump into periods. And let's talk about the realm of normal a little bit, in terms of, obviously we all experience them very differently. I remember that after I had my kids, it changed, like everything changed. And, you know, like I went from a normal kind of 3-day, not many issues, to 9 days craziness.
Oh, wow.
You know, and it took a long time to kind of settle somewhere in the middle. But, you know, it taught me that there is really not this one thing that we can expect, and it's not going to stay the same either. But for young girls, that is, you know, apparently more of a worry, you know, because they wish to be right average, right, in those areas. So let's talk about the blood. Like, what is a normal color that we should expect, and what is kind of where we should maybe come and see you or one of your colleagues?
Yeah. So the color of menstrual blood changes, right? So it may start off as more of like a bright red type blood. So that's newer blood. So like if you're cutting yourself, you see a brighter red blood. After the blood hits oxygen, or after, you know, it kind of settles for a little bit, then there's a change in the color. So it can change from like a orange or burgundy or brownish type color as you go through your periods. A maroon color as well. So you can have some of those phases within your period. Whenever there is heavy periods, that's what I always like to talk with people about as well. Like if you are saturating through your pads every 1 to 2 hours, then that means your period is a heavier period. And we need to look and figure out, why is that? Sometimes it can be from an infection. Sometimes it can be from fibroids. Young girls usually don't experience that. Thank God they don't experience fibroids. I have fibroids. It usually happens a little bit later on, but you can also have polyps that can cause heavier bleeding. So if there is a concern that the bleeding is heavier, it is never a bad thing to say, hey, I just want to have a conversation about it. Because that's one of my favorite things. I like to talk about periods and birth control. So it's a good way to really explain how the body works. So yes, so you can have that. And periods, when they first start, can be variable. They can happen once a month, twice a month. You think about what happens at the other side of things, like even menopause, how you can have irregular periods. That happens when periods first start as well. Very irregular. It takes about 2 to 3 years for girls who first start their periods to then have those regular periods every month. So it's not a time to freak out. You don't have to freak out, because your body just has to get into a rhythm. And like you were saying, even after pregnancy, it's the same thing. Your body has to get back into a rhythm where your periods become more regular. And that can be as early as every 24 days to about every 32 days. So it can vary when your period starts. And some people have periods 3 days, which I'm jealous. 3 days a month, but some people can have them for 5 to 7 days. So it just depends.
Right. So tell us about period pants, menstrual cups, all the different products, and, you know.
Yeah. So it's amazing that we have so many different products. I don't remember having a lot of these things. I don't know, maybe they were just hidden away where I didn't know about them. But when I was younger, I definitely did not know about period panties. They weren't a thing. All my mom talked to me about were pads, and that's what I knew. But now there are period panties that can be used. And so what those are their panties that you can use as backup with using pads or menstrual cups, or you can just soak through those panties and they'll hold that blood because they're leak proof. Menstrual cups can be used. Usually those are not the first go-tos for when periods first start, or even sometimes even in high schools. A lot of times people who are looking for more of a natural option will go toward menstrual cups, but it's literally a cup that you can insert into the vagina. Remember, not the vulva and the vagina. The vagina. You can put it into the vagina, and then you would just remove it once it gets full. And again, some people use pads or period panties for that. I have a period panty actually right here. As you mentioned before, Sanctuary MD is the company that I founded, and we have our own period panty. And what's nice about it is it has that leak resistant layer. We have 2 layers here that go in between the legs. And then it also keeps a pad of any size in place because it has 2 straps there. So there's a lot of innovation that's going on with menstrual products, which I'm so excited about, because who wants to be miserable every month, once a month? We should have different things that can help us out. So that we mentioned the period panties, the menstrual cups. There are also tampons that can be used as well. I find that it's important to know that tampons need to be removed after a certain amount of time. So it may be, a couple of hours. It depends on which tampon you're using. But the goal is not to have the same tampon in all day. You really need to remove that because that can cause infection.
Yeah, I think that is something, especially for swimmers or very athletic girls, that is probably still kind of their go-to for when they are in those activities, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, they are. So we have options.
We do.
Yes.
So how would you empower parents that are uncomfortable talking about all and any of these topics? How can we normalize this? How can we make this actually a conversation of strength rather than awkwardness?
Right. I think having the conversation like we're having and really just talking through it and talking about it and also showing and role modeling that it's something that can be easily talked about in a fun way. It's not something that you should have to fall and be afraid of. I also have made some resources that can be helpful for conversations like this. So Sanctuary MD, we have our My First Period kit. And so we walk through the different stages of puberty and what happens with the period. And we give, it's a celebration. You remember I was telling you about how important it is to celebrate the amazingness of our bodies and who we are as women. So I like to celebrate. So even with the My First Period kit, we have a cute little box here where it looks like a gift, because I think a period is a gift to us. It really is. It's how we can continue to really further the human species. So I would say having conversations like this, really knowing that it makes us so unique. It makes us all the things that we experience with our periods, are a part of our lives that can actually be helpful to us. And to celebrate all parts of it, even though sometimes it can not be that fun. I can say that, all of us experience that, but knowing that, okay, my body is doing some hard work right now, doing some amazing work right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to appreciate it instead of beating up on myself for having a period or being ashamed of having a period. So I would just say talking more. So that's why I'm trying to do as much as I can to really get out there and talk about these topics, because I think it's very freeing when we're able to talk about it freely, and not in a way that we feel ashamed.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. And I was reading an article a couple of weeks ago that was that more and more teenagers are getting their health information from TikTok. And, and that very often that is a little, iffy how much truth there is in it. So I feel like that is an even bigger reason to bring it back home and to kind of, not leave them pondering these topics by themselves, because they might end up by somebody who is really not an expert at all, but Yeah.
And then the thing is, you don't have to do it alone too. So sometimes some parents don't feel confident or comfortable having these conversations because they may have been given either the wrong information or don't know how to really talk about the ins and outs of what happens to our complex bodies. So that's the reason why, Sanctuary MD, I really, as a family doctor, I really have a lot of passion about talking about these things. But then I'm also like, okay, I need to get on TikTok because,
you should get on TikTok.
Look, we should put this on TikTok. Look, we'll expand your teeth to TikTok. But yes, it's so important because, you know, how else will we be able to get the right information if the people who know the information aren't in the places to give the information and meet people where they are? Because, you know, people don't come to the doctor every day, you know, even though I would enjoy seeing a lot of my patients every day. Yeah, I might see them once a year. So you got to meet people where they are.
Oh, perfect. Is there anything that we didn't tackle when it comes to?
There's a lot that has to do with periods. But I think
you have to come back. You have to come back.
Yes, I would love to. But I think we did a good job. I think we did a good job of covering quite a bit in 25 minutes in regards to periods. So the key takeaway is knowing how beautiful and unique you are. It doesn't matter if you are a teen, you know, teens grow up to be women, to be mothers, to be partners, but knowing that every stage is a beautiful stage and just really appreciating each part of it and knowing how beautiful and how magnificent you are. I mean, that's my goal. That's my goal to really tell people that, because we don't hear that enough.
That's a wonderful message. Can you tell people where they can find you?
Yes, come follow me. So follow me at Dr. Amber Robbins on Instagram, and I'm also on Facebook. And then you can also follow Sanctuary MD. That's SANXTUARYMD. We're on Instagram as well as Facebook, and you can check out our website at www.sanctuarymd.com and try our products out. It's life-changing. It literally has changed my life, y'all, like for real. I'm wearing them right now. We had the Ultimate Period Panties. I'm wearing them. I've been wearing them during pregnancy, before pregnancy, after pregnancy. Yes, please, you know, helping the sister out.
That sounds great. And all those links are also in the comments. And thank you so much, Dr. Amber. This was not at all uncomfortable.
Good. Yes. It's supposed to be fun. Well, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity of really getting this message out. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate your teen magazine. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, come back soon.
Yes,
Bye,
of course.
everybody.
All right. Bye.